Hello, 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 my sweet and beautiful friends, and welcome to Simply Faith. Yes, I am bringing this channel out of the depths of the grave that I unintentionally placed it in. Honestly, I've just been so busy with my reading channel. If you're new here, hi, hello, my name is Faith, and I mainly do book stuff over on my main channel, which is Faith's Reading Things, but I've been really trying to do more like vlog, lifestyle stuff, hence bringing this channel back to life. No promises on consistency though, yet. I don't know, we'll see what happens. I'm really wanting to start doing some more videos surrounding like my faith, my lifestyle, my health, all that kind of stuff, so I just felt this like nudging to, put some more time into this channel. So that's what we're doing. With that though, and with wanting to do more like faith style vlogs, I thought the perfect spot to start would be my testimony at the beginning. When I tell you guys, I have been terrified to make this video. No, literally, I'm so scared. I know that sounds ridiculous, but sharing your testimony is such a vulnerable thing, especially online. It just opens up a lot of opportunity for hateful comments and judgment, and it's scary. It's a very terrifying thing, but I do feel there is so much power in our testimonies and in sharing them with others. And as I go into more faith-based vlogs, I want you guys to kind of get an understanding of where I've come from, what I've come from, and just like get to know me a little bit more. Whenever I share my testimony with people, I do feel like I kind of talk in circles. I have ADHD severely, so I kind of wrote out like an outline so that I don't get too off track. So if you see me looking that way, it is my computer. The way I'm going to kind of try and say all this is the first part is kind of going to be like my life story, my upbringing, my childhood, kind of what I came from, and then I'll go more into like how the Lord has worked in my life and all the ways that I've seen His goodness, His faithfulness, His grace. So I hope this all makes sense. We do have a special guest. This is Goose. Why am I holding his neck like that? I'm so sorry. This is Goose. He is a weighted goose. It's just a comfort thing. I don't know. And I do have my cozy comfort thrifted t-shirt. So just all the cozy vibes for this video. Oh, I'm still so nervous, guys. Bear with me. So I'm basically just gonna start at the beginning with my early childhood. So I was born into a Christian family. My mom and dad were both in the church. They were both believers. So in my very early childhood, I already knew that there was a God, who God was. I remember going to church a little bit. I understood as much as a toddler and a 5-year-old could understand at that point. So I feel very blessed to have already known that at such a young age. I vaguely remember going to like Christian elementary schools, being in Sunday school. So it was really nice to have kind of that like base knowledge at such a young age. Then when I was about 6 years old, my parents ended up getting divorced. It was a very messy divorce. There was a lot of really intense fighting, and there was just a lot of chaos that followed. Now looking back, I feel like that was kind of when my childhood ended. I know that sounds a little ridiculous, like at 6 years old, but I feel like after that, I had to grow up very fast. But with that really messy divorce, we were kind of moving around a lot. Custody was very confusing and kind of up and down. I remember there was cops at my house quite often. One of my parents just was not handling things well and kind of just went off the rails a little bit. So with all that chaos going on, I feel like our spiritual lives just got kind of neglected. At that point, we were all just trying to survive whatever was going on. So kind of from that point on, we did what we could, but we weren't really walking in our faith as much as we probably could have if that all like hadn't have happened. The relationship with one of my parents ended up getting pretty messy and unhealthy. It was a very, very complicated relationship, especially with me still being so young. There was so much that I still didn't like fully comprehend about the situation. That relationship with one of my parents definitely had a huge impact on my self-worth, my confidence as I got older. And because of that, in like my teenage and very, very young adult years, I ended up getting in a lot of like very unhealthy and toxic relationships because that's just how all that kind of manifested in my life. Because of that one relationship, I feel like things were just so unpredictable that I learned to kind of just quiet my own needs in order to like appease someone else's and like keep the peace, I guess I would say. So that's part of why I felt like I had to grow up so fast. And so with that, I felt like I lost a lot of my identity and I didn't feel like it was safe to be exactly who I was. I didn't feel like it was safe to have the needs that I did. And then as I got older, that also manifested in a lot of different ways, like me doing a lot of things because I thought it was like what other people desired and what other people wanted to see in me. So I ended up like partying a lot. I ended up drinking at a really young age. I was hanging out with like the older crowd because I think I was still just in need of attention and I just wanted to be accepted so bad that I completely in a way like lost myself because I felt like I didn't really know what it truly felt like to be loved and accepted for just who I was, because growing up, I was never just myself. I was just whoever I felt like people needed me to be. By the time my teenage years rolled around, I still like believed in God. Like I still knew that there was a God, and I still like believed in Jesus and believed like all the basic things, but I wasn't at all like walking in my faith. I wasn't at all actually living it out. Like I said earlier, I was partying, drinking, being intimate with my partner, and just getting involved in things I knew I shouldn't have, especially at that age. It was never anything like too crazy, but it was definitely enough of an issue to where I was putting myself in situations that were unsafe, and it ended up resulting in bad things happening. I always have this like running joke that I lived my early 20s phase in my teenage years. So now being 26 years old, I feel like I have lived many lives. But I think a lot of that is also because from a really young age, I felt like I was on my own and I kind of had to take care of myself. So by the time I was, I believe, 18 or 19, I was still struggling with this extremely unhealthy and toxic relationship with one of my parents. I felt as though I was constantly being manipulated. I felt like I had to be the parent in the relationship. And it was kind of just a constant situation where I would have to like break off the relationship for periods of time because like I just couldn't handle it. And it was causing more harm than good to my spirit. So I'm 18, 19, struggling with that relationship. I have no idea what I'm doing with my life. I graduated like a semester early just because I just wanted to be out of high school and I felt like I was an adult by then. Not with good grades, might I say. I really don't know how I graduated early. I don't know who let me do that. So by that point in my life, I ended up getting into a relationship who I thought was going to be the one. He was in the military, so I ended up flying back and forth a lot to go visit him. And then when we finally made things official, it was kind of one of those situations where it's so extreme. Like it felt euphoric, but there was also this underlying like feeling of something's not right here. When we did finally make it official, I ended up moving to Hawaii so that we could be together. I'm gonna try not to cry because I don't want to be emotional on camera, but sometimes I can't help it, so I am so sorry if it happens. But yeah, I ended up moving to Hawaii to be with him, and things just started getting a little bit off. He started doing little things that were very questionable and that I knew weren't right, but he would try and make it up by doing something really amazing for me. So I felt so back and forth. Like I knew that some of the things that were happening weren't okay, but he was also doing so many good things and saying so many sweet things to me that I was like, okay, maybe I'm just overthinking this. And that was happening for a few months before I really started feeling like something was wrong. I'm not gonna go super into detail with all that, but it did end up being a very emotionally, mentally, intimately abusive situation. And because I was on an island, I was quite literally isolated from the world. I didn't have any family there. I didn't have any friends there that weren't his friends. And if you know anybody that is narcissistic or abusive, you'll know that most of the time they do try to isolate you so that you don't have anybody to turn to. So when I think back, I think that those were some of the hardest months of my life because I felt like I was going crazy. I didn't have anybody to talk to about it. So I felt extremely alone in that time of my life. And it finally got so bad that I ended up within 24 hours making the decision to move home. But I made the silly mistake of staying with him for a few more months because I knew that he was going to have to come back home because we're both from the same state, but he was stationed in Hawaii, so that's why we were both there. So yeah, I moved home and stayed with him, because I just for some reason just had hope that things would be different and that maybe having some time apart would make things better. It didn't. So I was waiting to actually break things off until he was changing duty stations because he was going to be coming home for a little bit and then he would be going to a new state and he couldn't leave that state for a while. I didn't feel good or safe about ending it before he came home because I didn't know what would happen when he came home. So I waited a few months, and when he finally came home to change his duty stations, I ended up saying that we were going to just be taking a little break because I was still scared that if I just broke it off completely and peaced out that something would happen. I don't know. I just didn't feel safe to do so. And then when he went to a new state, I sent him a text, said I was done. I think I might have blocked his number for a while, and that was that. At that point, I was living with my parent that I had a really, really hard relationship with because I had nowhere else to go when I moved back home. So I'm fresh out of this very toxic and abusive relationship. I have no friends. My family doesn't even know what's going on. I still have absolutely no idea what I'm doing with my life because for the whole previous year, I had planned on getting married to this guy and starting a family, and like that was my future. So I was in this place where I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea what I was going to do. That was the most hopeless and numb that I have ever felt in my entire life. That was rock bottom for me, honestly. In that moment, I had been convinced, and I truly believed that I would never be loved again. Not only did other people convince me of that, but I had convinced myself that they were right. And I remember just having these thoughts and these feelings of just like absolute grief and shame and depression. And it was in this extremely dark place that the Lord just like met me in that spot. I truly felt like I had nothing left. And he said, Faith, I'm here when you're ready. Like, I know you and I see you. You're not too broken. You're not too used. You're not dirty. You have purpose, and I'm not done with you yet. And so in that moment, I knew that something needed to change. I knew that I needed to start actively making decisions to repair my relationship with the Lord. I knew I needed to get some form of community, whether that was getting involved in church, whether that was finding new friends. I knew I needed people, and I knew I needed the Lord, and I didn't know what that looked like at all. I think in that moment, I could have gone two ways, and a lot of the people that are closest to me have taken the way of letting their trauma and letting all these horrible things kind of shape them into a bitter person or into a person that just uses distractions and different ways to cope with what's happened. And then on the other side, there was the path I could take of pursuing the Lord, fixing my issues, getting into therapy. And I just saw in my life what I didn't want to become. I didn't want to go on with unresolved trauma. I didn't want to go on finding distractions and coping mechanisms to deal with what I had been through. I feel like sometimes in life we don't always learn from the people that we do want to be, the people we do look up to. Sometimes we learn from the people that we don't. And I just thought about everything in that moment and said, I don't want my life to look like this. I didn't just go through all of this for nothing. And so instead of having that mindset of just trying to ignore everything and find like unhealthy coping mechanisms, I made this conscious decision. Lord, I don't know why I went through this. I don't know what the purpose of all this was, but I know that you're going to make something beautiful from this, and I just pray that you show me that purpose in my suffering, because that's what God does. Bad things happen and they absolutely suck, but the Lord is going to make something so beautiful from your pain. And I think that thought was what kept me going. It wasn't long after all of that happened that I ended up dating my now husband. We actually kind of met and started being friends while I was still dating my ex, but like all my other friendships, I had to cut him off. I probably should have waited a little bit longer and just let the Lord really move in my life and really just focus on growing my relationship with the Lord in that time, because I definitely was not in any way, shape, or form probably ready for another relationship, but that was my choice. And I feel like the Lord knew exactly what and who I needed, because Danny, my now husband, is the absolute kindest and most gentle human being you will ever meet in your entire life. And I think that that was exactly what I needed in that moment. And he definitely helped me grow in my faith as well. We were both like babies in our faith by the time we were dating. And with that, not only did I want to be better for myself, but also I wanted to be better for him. The goose is coming back. So over the next couple years, I'm about 21 at this point, I ended up getting baptized, which also felt like such a redemption moment because Danny was actually the one to baptize me with my pastor. And I feel like that was really the start of my run with God. Around that time, I also got myself into therapy, which I still see her to this day, like 5 years later. Bless her heart, she has seen me in so many crazy areas of my life. But I knew I had so much unresolved trauma and just so much from my past relationship, my relationship with my parent, other things that happened in my childhood and growing up, a lot of trauma from like my high school years. I was just a mess and I knew it. Not too long after that, I actually ended up going to Bible college very briefly. I had this desire to truly sprint after the Lord, and I thought that that looked like a specific thing. I thought that that looked like going to Bible college. So I ended up moving to California, starting Bible college there. And it's just funny the way that the Lord will show you when something was your plan and when something was his. Because not far into my Bible college journey did I start having really bad issues with my roommate. The way the housing situation worked was there was 6 girls in a 3-bedroom apartment, so 2 girls each bedroom. And me and my roommate, I feel like we're just very, very different people coming from very, very different backgrounds. And so it was just a very, very bad mix. I'm not going to go into detail, but it was just not a good situation. And I just remember crying and crying, and I was like, Lord, I'm here for you. Like, why are things going wrong? My health was getting horrible. So things were just going wrong. And I just remember being like feeling so defeated because I was like, God, I'm here for you. Like, why is everything going wrong? And I don't know if it was just like a realization I had, or maybe it was the Lord speaking to me, but I just felt like he was like, dude, I didn't ask you to come here. Like, you didn't have to do this to prove that you were chasing after me, that your heart was for me. And I was like, oh, you're right. I'm still so grateful for my time in that Bible college. I still have friends from the time that I was there, and that place will always hold a special place in my heart. But I ended up coming back about 3 months after starting Bible college. I was kind of in between jobs. I was working at a lot of nursing homes. I got like a retail job just because when I came back, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing with my life again. Me and Danny are still together, and I feel like for the next couple years, the Lord was just like slowly revealing different things to me. Like, I would meet people who were going through similar situations that like I had been in, and to be able to not just sympathize but actually empathize with people who were going through those things, I just constantly had these like aha moments where I was like, oh my gosh, because of what I went through, I'm now able to like comfort someone, and because of the grace of God, show them like what the other side of this situation looks like, or could look like. Because of the way that the Lord worked in my life, I am now able to help show other people that there is hope, and that the Lord can also and will also work in their life. So that's when I really started seeing like the fruition and the beauty that the Lord made of my situations, and just the way that Danny continuously so graciously dealt with me. I know that sounds bad. He didn't like deal with me, but I would just have breakdowns all the time. My anxiety would be so bad. My depression would be so bad. I would just be consistently going through triggers and just like relived trauma. Like, I don't even know. I was just going through things consistently, and he would just always be there to comfort me and be so kind and gentle with me and understanding. And the Lord definitely and so crazily redeemed that portion of me that thought that I could never find love again, or would never find love again, because he gave me a man that just delivered more than I could have ever thought that I ever needed. Also, kind of going back to like my relationship with one of my parents, I felt like I had this huge void, and as time went on, I just prayed and prayed and prayed that the Lord would fix that and fill that. And through reading scripture and through prayer and through just casual conversations and time with God, he really revealed himself to me as the father that I always needed. And as I kept choosing to open my heart to him, invite him in, he just filled me with the most unconditional and perfect love. And that feeling, after going basically your whole life not feeling much true unconditional love and worth, the feeling of finally accepting God's love is unlike anything I truly could ever explain in my entire life. And nothing could ever compare to the supernatural joy and love that you feel when you let the Lord like mend the cracks in your soul. So really from like age 21 to 24, the Lord was just doing this like crazy work in me, and he was just revealing himself to me in so many different ways. And I continued to see his grace, his faithfulness, his power in so many areas of my life. For so long, I think because I was just such a broken person, I made it all about me, because like I was just healing for so long. And over the last year or so, I feel like, I mean, obviously I'm still like continuing to heal in different ways, but I feel like the bulk of mending and healing was done in my early 20s. And so for the last year or so, I've just felt like I'm at this point where I realize it's not about me, but it's about him and who he is. And so after doing that mending and healing, I was finally at this point where I was like reflecting on everything that God's done in my life. And I just had this like aha moment where I was like, oh my gosh. And I just realized like his glory and just how good he is. And so for the last year, I've just been in this time, I guess, where I'm just like full on fire for the Lord. And I just want to praise him and worship him and just continue to see his glory and his power. I think as humans, it's really, really hard for us to wrap our heads around all that God is. I truly don't even think that we can. And I hope this is making sense, because I feel like sometimes when I try to say things, I don't make sense. Words are hard, but basically what I'm trying to say is it's less about me and all about him. And so now I'm at this point in my life where obviously I'm so thankful and grateful for all the Lord has done like within me, but now I'm just like, it's about you. Like, thank you for who you are and what you've done. And I'm just constantly in awe of of how amazing he is. And now I feel like I'm running after him in a way that is led by him instead of like what I think that should look like. So I feel like a lot of times we put like expectations, or we think that like being a Christian has to look a certain way. I know I'm probably leaving so much out, but honestly my brain is kind of crispy fried from trying to like rehash everything. And you're obviously going to learn a lot more about me as I continue to start like vlogging about my faith and lifestyle and stuff. But I hope this gives you guys just like a basic knowledge of where I came from, what I come from, and kind of where I'm at this stage of my life. If you're gonna get anything from this video, I want it to be that God's not done with you. He's still writing your story. There is purpose and there will be something beautiful from your pain. You are never too broken. You are never too far gone. You are never too anything for God. And he is so good. He is so good. And I just know he's going to do so many amazing things, not only with this channel and my life, but also in your guys' life. You just have to choose him. It's that simple. Because he chose us first. Before you were even walking this earth, he chose you. And I think that is such a beautiful, beautiful thing. Anyway, I'm probably going to completely embarrass myself now trying to edit this video, but I'm still so nervous for it to go out. But I love you guys so much. I really do. And I'm so appreciative and thankful that you guys are all here. Like I said, don't hold me to anything, but I am going to try and be more consistent on here. Expect more kind of faith-based vlogs, some fun vlogs surrounding like my health and lifestyle, some fun sit-down videos that are more like faith-based. I'm excited. I'm so excited. It's gonna be so much fun. I'm so excited to spend more time with you guys that isn't just fully bookish. I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your week, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!